Good morning, Julian. How are you?
Well, nice to see you, Ricardo. It's a pleasure to chat with you as always. And for me, well, I'm okay. It's a wild day here, wind and rain, and we don't know what to expect next from the
Good.
world. But,
Good. Well, glad to see you and to see these lovely mimos you have behind you.
yes, I, I chose this one because it fits well around the picture.
Good, good. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Good.
Well, let's move on to the 12 healer.
Yes, indeed.
Mm. And the first thing that comes to my mind is why 12 and not 10 or 19 or 8 or 7?
Well, of course, we don't know really what was in Bach's mind at the time, because he started off with smaller numbers, as you probably remember, and he sort of finalized, yes, it is 12, I've got it right, 12. And partly that was when he discovered rock rose, the 12th, which is a kind of remedy for transition away from what we think as my personality and more to do with, well, what is this experience of life and death?
Mm. That sounds so interesting. So it is the last one because it is a transition between the lessons and the helpers.
But
Or
also,
it's something that we all go through.
well, that's the question which we can ask ourselves.
Hmm.
But also, there are 12 months in the year. Now, we're in the northern hemisphere now, and just about to enter the 12th month before Christmas. And then that's the great transition of what? The solstice, do we call it? And so when we come to the 23rd, 24th of December, we're actually moving into a new cycle. So I think that the idea of 12 healers is also linked to the cycle of life and death and regeneration.
Good.
This may not suit everybody as an idea, but it's the way that I see it. That's what I thought.
Well, I like it. I like it. And the idea of what rose is the last one, which is life and death,
Yeah.
the experience of death, or the being afraid of dying or being destroyed.
Yes, but also surely it's about the inner transition which we make between the physical reality, which comes, very strongly, and the inner reality, let's say, which we make, which call it the world of the spirit. But then also you see every one of us has been through that transition not so long ago. I mean, maybe longer for me than for you, but when I was born, or let's say, when my daughter was born, I can remember just being absolutely, what we say in English is not very nice, but gobsmacked. Wow, have I really seen this happen? Life
Mm,
out of the darkness from within the womb and meeting the world.
mm.
And for me, when that happened, obviously it was the first step, and I didn't think, oh, I know what your remedy is. No, 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 no. All I thought was, thank God you're here. This is so amazing. And as a parent, of course, that never leaves you exactly. Because sometimes you think, oh, goodness, leave me alone. But so one might ask, well, which is the first remedy? If rock rose is the last, and
Mhm.
that does depend upon the individual.
Mm. Yes. And it is curious because if you look at the 7 groups, drop rose is the first one on the first group.
Yeah. Now, doesn't that tell you something? Okay,
Oh,
there's,
it does. It does. It does.
and
Mm.
um, I don't know whether we could say this for Bach, but I think we do have an idea that for him, life and death was always a very strong issue in his family. I think that's why he became a medical doctor. but there were times in his early life, I think, when he wasn't a strong man. He wasn't a sort of fit character.
Mm.
In fact, he wasn't allowed to join the army, which he wanted to join in the First World War. Everybody wanted to fight in the First World War.
Mm.
Well, it's nearly everybody.
Mm. Mm. And do you think that number 12 has to do with astrology at some point?
Absolutely, definitely, definitely. For me, because I learned astrology at an early age, and well, not for everybody, perhaps, but I think that it is a kind of a measure of the evolving character of individuals, and it's based very much upon time and the time of the day as well as the time of the month.
Yes. Mm. And what about this idea, that this is widespread in the flower essences world, that the position of the moon in the in the natal chart has to do with our own type remedy?
Well, I think this is something which we can look at as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I would avoid, when you say that, yeah, Ricardo, go on and tell me. No. That's intrusive, isn't it?
Well, you see, I find it interesting. It gives you information. I wouldn't be corked into that, as a rigid thing, rigid idea. But if I look at myself, it makes sense in my case. I don't know in other cases.
Well, of course, the time of day which you were born, which it varies for all of us, and what was happening in the world at that moment,
Hmm?
everybody could accept the idea that actually there's a kind of a lightning strike, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
like a coming into being for that individual. And some
Mm-hmm.
people argue that it's not just at birth, but maybe at conception, or it's at a certain stage in the development of pregnancy. And there are many, many factors.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're talking today, there's a new moon, actually, I think about 5 o'clock today. And
Yes.
I won't go into screen share and bring up my astrological chart. It is always for me a significant fact, according to where the moon is. And if you're fortunate enough to live in a place where you can see the sky, it's informative, if nothing else.
Mm. Mm. There is something I found which I write in my book, and I think it comes from you. And it seems that Dr. Whittle's wife
Uh-huh.
was into astrology.
Absolutely, definitely.
Mm.
And Bach was a little bit more distant from it because he didn't want to become what we call doctrinaire.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to step away from every
Mm-hmm.
study or doctrine which could actually focus attention on that rather than
Mm-hmm.
what his own ideas were. So yes, definitely he listened to her, and they had a study group with about astrology. But what in a way we might say is, well, what does this tell us about Bach himself?
Mm-hmm.
Because his birthday was September the 24th.
But the fourth, yes.
So he was actually right in the first, what we call the first decade, the beginning of the new sign.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that influenced him or not.
Mm.
It's difficult to say.
Yes. Well, but he was very close to the Willers,
Yeah,
apparently.
right.
Mm-hmm. To him and to her. I mean, I didn't know about her until I read this, but he was very close.
Well, if we were to come back to the question of the 12 healers, I think let's draw out from that there is the moment of his birth, but then there's the time of his birth, the place of his birth, and the impact of what else was happening around that time in that period.